All right, what's up, everybody? Celtics postgame live after an incredible win against the Magic. It would be wonderful. It would be amazing if this wasn't against the Magic. Like, I would be so excited. I would be so excited to talk to you guys right now. So, I am still. I really, because it was such an unreal game from Jaylen Brown. But, like, I hate that it took this much to beat the Magic. Just real quick, like, I was going to do this post-game show. And it was like, whatever it was, 7:40 or 8 o'clock, whatever time, right? And the Celtics are down 14 to the Magic. And I'm like, I'm going to have to get on this show and I'm going to have to talk about how terrible the Celtics are because they just lost to the Magic of all teams after beating the Suns. I don't know what's wrong with this team. They lose to the Timberwolves, they lose to the Clippers, they beat the Suns, and then they lose to the Magic. And all these teams were without their stars. I mean, they didn't have Towns, they didn't have Edwards, they didn't have Paul George, they didn't have Reggie Jackson. The Magic didn't have Cole Anthony. I'm like, what is going on, man? I'm like, what is going on? What is happening? So I'm beside myself with the Celtics down 14. They start to crawl back into it. And Scal starts to talk, and Scal starts to say stuff like, well, they can only make this one more mistakes. Like, it looks like a long shot, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, man, it's Jaylen Brown and it's Marcus Smart. And those are the only two that I'm giving credit today. And I was ready to be mad at Jaylen Brown because, and I put it at the bottom, he doesn't get off scot-free, whatever it is, okay? Because he did have 7 turnovers. So I put it at the bottom there because it was not perfect. It wasn't perfect, but I mean, holy hell, he shot the ball so well. And Lan, I'm immediately going to Lan. I'm immediately putting Lan's comment up. Don't trade JP. Who out there? Admit it. Admit it. Come out right now. If this was you better talk about it in the chat right now. If you wanted to trade Jaylen Brown. If you wanted to trade Jaylen Brown, I can't talk to you right now. If you ever thought that trading Jaylen Brown was the right idea, I don't know what to tell you. Tonight better have changed your mind because Jaylen Brown you're not going to find a better player for Jaylen Brown. I can guarantee you that the Celtics aren't going to add a player to their team better than Jaylen Brown for the next 25 years. It's going to be 25 years until you find a player as good as Jaylen Brown again. And as good as Jason Tatum again, for that matter. Don't trade them away. Don't trade them away. They want to be here by all accounts. They're not asking to be shipped out of town. And you can win with them. You can. You'll be able to. You really wanted to trade Jaylen Brown. You really wanted to trade Jaylen Brown. You really thought that was the right idea. I don't know what to tell you. Jaylen Brown, 50 points today. And unbelievable. What a game. JB 7 turnover. He fired him up. That's what Phil's saying. In the fourth, 21 points thereafter. And that's right, Phil. Honestly, I was looking at Jaylen Brown's stats and I saw the turnovers, and he really just took over. He really just said, I've had enough. I've had enough of these peasants on the Magic. I've had enough of Terrence Ross. I've had enough of Franz Wagner. I'm Jaylen Brown. I am a superior being to everybody on this court right now. I am just going to take over, and there's nothing any of you could do about it. And that was what happened. That was exactly what happened. And Jaylen Brown proved to everybody why he's a superstar. We were talking pregame about the fact that he's not going to be an all-star. He probably still won't. But hey, he just put up a hell of a performance and made a hell of a case for himself. And if the Celtics keep winning, maybe he could get there. Maybe. If the Celtics can keep winning, if they go on a little streak here, 6, 7 in a row, something like that, they climb back into the playoffs, Jaylen Brown can make the all-star team. He's a big part of it too. But tonight was the way to start the new year. I'll tell you that much. Jaylen Brown, just unbelievable. Phil said it, 21 points in the fourth quarter. 21 in the fourth quarter. Or was it 27 actually? Sorry, you said 21 after the turnover. But I think it was 27 in the fourth quarter, 33 in the second half. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That's what Mike Gorman said. I thought on the broadcast, maybe I was mistaken. Maybe it was 21 in the fourth quarter. But nevertheless, we know the final number, 50 points for Jaylen Brown, the best game of his career. And it's not like he put up, how many shots did he have? It's not like he had like 40. I mean, how many did he have finished with in this game? Let's see. Hold on. I got to look up the number. I know he shot amazing. 29 attempts, shot 65%. 65%. My goodness, from the floor. He was on fire. He was on fire. It's the best game he's ever played. 65%, besides the turnovers. The turnovers might ruin it a little bit, but 65%, 50% from three, making up sort of for that 1 for 13 performance a few nights ago. I mean, wow. And Justin saying Jaylen Brown is definitely an all-star this year. I'm sorry, Justin. It's close. Like, I don't know. Maybe we can get into that later, but it's closer than you think, and it's probably no. But right now, he's making a case for himself. It's hard to say a guy who just dropped 50 points is an all-star. It's really hard for me to argue that. So I'm not going to even try to argue that right now. Maybe later once we all calm down. But it's hard, like, when you're doing this, he's making a serious case for himself. He's adding to his resume. Like, he's putting himself in consideration. You know, it's him, it's Darius Garland, it's Bradley Beal, it's Drew Holiday. Like, those are the guys we're talking about on the fringes here. So I'll tell you what, Jaylen Brown was just amazing tonight. Everything the Celtics needed. Like, he saved them. He really did. Just, they were playing lackadaisical. They weren't playing. Terrence Ross was taking over. They were turning the ball over way too much. Right, 20 turnovers in the first 3 quarters is what they said. And it just, I mean, like, Dennis Schroeder was having a brutal game, honestly. He was holding the ball way too much. I think he started 3 of 10. He played a little bit in the fourth quarter, but he started 3 of 10, had a couple turnovers there. He might have even had one that was credited to Jaylen Brown that should have been his, but Dennis Schroeder was not good tonight. Not as good as the Celtics kind of needed him to be. They needed his scoring, and it wasn't there. So, really, I mean, Jaylen Brown had to do it all. And Marcus Smart, you know, we got to give some credit to Marcus Smart too, okay? And I don't know if Marcus Smart is long for this team. I don't know if they're going to trade him or not, okay? I don't think this game changes much of that for Smart. But the last 2 games, he's been balling out. He's been absolutely killing it for the Celtics when they needed it the most. They needed his scoring against the Suns. He delivered. They needed his scoring tonight against the Magic. He delivered 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. And that steal on Franz Wagner, you saw it coming from a mile away. Marcus Smart just standing there, waiting to help, sees Franz Wagner turning his head. He's not looking at him. He's not realizing Marcus Smart's like leaving his man a little bit. A second Marcus Smart sees him turn. He pounces like a cobra. That's why this is a nickname, right? That's the cobra. He pounces, and he just rips the ball away. Like, I'm just stronger than you, Franz Wagner. I'm Marcus Smart. I'm all defense. I'm ferocious, and I am getting this ball. I am taking this ball from you. Like, that's what you have to. That's what we always love about Marcus Smart. If you and him are fighting for a ball, he is winning. Like, you are not winning a loose ball battle with them, or that wasn't even a loose ball battle. But if you both have your hands on that basketball, Marcus Smart's coming away with it. And he ripped that out of Franz Wagner's hands. Like, welcome to the NBA, rookie. This is what the real defense is like. And Franz Wagner's great, but that was an incredible play from Marcus Smart. And what more can you say? The steal led to the bucket from Jaylen Brown, tied it up. And it was that's all she wrote from there, because that's all Celtics needed. They go to overtime, and they pretty much handle the Magic in overtime. It was a little bit in question there for a second, but they pull away, and they end up winning. Let's get to some of your comments. I've picked at them a little bit. I've looked at them a little bit, but I want to dive into them real, because I just wanted to rant a little bit on that incredible win. Again, hated that it had to be against the Magic. Like, if this was against, this is how you beat the Suns, that would have been cool. That would have been really cool, and that would have been a huge story. If this is how you beat, I don't know, if this is even in the Lakers, who aren't that good, but, pick a team out there, the Jazz, the Cavaliers, the Nets, the Bulls, whatever, pick a good team. That would have been great. Even if it was like the Hawks, but like one of the worst teams in the league, you needed 50 from JB to do it. And this is when we talk about the Jays and people being too critical of them and like saying trade them, it's like, what more do you want from Jaylen Brown? Like, he had to drop 50 tonight. Like, if he had dropped like 40 and they lost, like, why is that Jaylen Brown's fault? Like, they need better. They need to get better around those guys. They need help. But Jaylen Brown did it tonight, and he was the man. So shout out to Jaylen Brown. Ryan saying, what up? Land saying, let's go, JB. Because, yeah, Jaylen Brown was just is the story of the night, really. Him and Marcus Smart are the only 2 players I feel like giving credit to right now. Phil saying, Pat score 50. JB says, let me score 50 myself. That's a good one, Phil. I like that one. Yeah. I've been on 2 post-game shows. If you guys have been watching the channel today, if you guys have been around, I had the Patriots post-game. I had the Celtics post-game. I had the Celtics pre-game. Like, I've just been streaming all day long pretty much. It's been wild for me. But, yeah, Patriots, we talked about them scoring 50. Now Jaylen Brown had to score 50 himself. I mean, it's crazy that happened on the same day. But yeah, Jaylen Brown, he must have saw them and said, you know what, that has me thinking, why don't I just try to do that myself? So shout out to Jaylen Brown. Anmal saying, typically Celtics, we blow out the Suns, but struggle against the Magic. That's what I was thinking too, Anmal. And I had like even a tweet already. I had a tweet ready, and I talked about it before, and I ranted about it to start the stream. You lose to 3 of the worst teams you could have possibly played. And that would have included a potential loss to the Magic, right? But that includes the Timberwolves without their stars, the Clippers without their stars, and without Kawhi Leonard even too, if you want to throw him in there, even though he's been gone all season. But like Paul George, no Paul George, no Reggie Jackson, no Karl-Anthony Towns, no Anthony Edwards, right? Then you play the Magic without Cole Anthony. You almost lose to them. It's like, how? And then, but you beat the Suns, you blow out the Suns even, you could say. Like, that is, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. But like, you know what? I think this is the last bad thing I'm going to say about it all night, because you know what? It's been a hard season. It really has. It's been one of the harder seasons in recent memory, and they just keep getting harder, it feels like. So there's been a number of tough ones. You might have a different pick. Certainly, I could understand that. But this one's been particularly difficult. So you know what, guys? Let's just enjoy. Let's enjoy the positives while we have them. Let's just enjoy what we can enjoy. Jaylen Brown, 50 points, an incredible finish. It was a good night. It was a good night. Maybe not a great night, but it was a good night. And while saying JB went crazy. Brown, 2 goated is what Jose is chiming in with. KJ going back to back. Yeah, with the streams. Back to back. It's gear. We're going back to back on the streams tonight. Ev had to take a load off. Maybe he drank too much on New Year's Eve. I don't know. I'm just messing. A 2-day recovery from New Year's Eve. I don't know what Ev's deal was, but I fill in when I can. Levi saying, few good game from the Celtics. However, just keep your foot on the gas, I think is what you're saying, and don't let up on it. And the Celtics need to keep it rolling. They really, really need to keep it rolling here. They cannot keep faltering. And Jason Tatum's coming back now supposedly, so that's good. You really, I thought you didn't need him tonight. You shouldn't have needed him tonight. Maybe you needed him a little tonight, but ultimately you won without him anyway, so it's okay. But yeah, Celtics climbed to 18-19, half game behind the Wizards now for 8th place. 1.5 behind the Hornets and 2 behind the 76ers. And you know what? 3 behind the Cavaliers. So we'll throw them in. 3 behind the Cavaliers for 5th place. So, hey, for all those people in the comments saying Jaylen Brown's an all-star, I know there's a lot of you. If you can catch the Cavs, I'll sign off. Jaylen Brown's an all-star if you can catch the Cavaliers in the standings. If you do that, then absolutely. If you don't, I don't know. That's gonna be a tough call. It's gonna be a tough call for somebody to make. Lance saying, I don't care. JB got 50. Ev saying, I got a few issues, but the ball work and spacing was good, but got worse with Dennis on the floor. And don't get me started on JT. I've always been on the trade JT train, is what Evan's saying. Evan, I'm sorry. That's idiotic. I cannot. Evan, just why? Why, Evan? Jason Tatum is a top 15 player in this league. And he's still 23. He's 23 years old, Evan. He is people expect way too much from Jason Tatum right now. Every season of his entire career, he takes LeBron to Game 7 as a rookie. As a rookie, Jason Tatum takes LeBron James to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and people bash him for not getting to the NBA Finals as a rookie. He's in the first season off of his damn rookie contract, and people want to trade him after he just inked. He wants to stay here for another 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is, on his contract, and who knows how much longer after that. And you're like, you want to run him out of town. It's insane. It is insane. Evan, I said it about Jaylen Brown, and I'll say it again. If you trade Jason Tatum, you are not getting a player better than Jason Tatum for the next 25 years. Do not trade this man. Don't trade Jason Tatum. Why should I even have to tell anybody that? It's insane that I have to explain that to people. Jason Tatum is an elite basketball player. Those don't just grow on trees. And guess what? Devin Booker didn't even make the playoffs until he was 24 years old last year, 25, whatever he is now. Like, he's 25 years old right now. Devin Booker, let me look up the age, because I did look it up the other day, but I'll look it up again, and we gotta look up what he was when he made the playoffs. Our birthday's October 30th. So he was 24 years old when he first made the playoffs. Devin Booker made the NBA Finals last year. Congratulations to him. He lost. Jason Tatum is 23 years old. He's playing against grown men out there. Players never win championships until they're like 26, 27. They don't lead teams to championships until they get to that age. Jason Tatum has accomplished as much as anyone could imagine a player of his caliber could have accomplished at his age, and possibly in this league. Like, no player, hardly any players. There's a very short list that have accomplished what he's accomplished at 23 years old. And you just want to give him away. You want to give him away for what? Picks. For picks? So you can have what? So you can have another 5 Romeo Langfords on the team? Why? Why? It doesn't make sense. You want to suck for the next 20 years? Do you want to suck for the next 20 years? Yes? No? I don't know. Why? What's going on? Do you want to suck for the next 20 years? Because that's what trading Jason Tatum would do. That's what trading Jason Tatum would do. As for Dennis, as for your point on Dennis, I'll agree with you. Dennis Schroeder was not good tonight. Dennis Schroeder was awful tonight, honestly. I mean, it won't totally show in the box score. It wasn't as bad as the box score will say, but he did what he usually does. He's held onto the ball too long. He wasted time on offense with just dribbling around too much. He was slow decision-making. He started the game 3 of 10. He wasn't shooting well. Like, there was a lot wrong with Dennis Schroeder tonight. And he did, like, even at the end of the game, he was taking it up the court, and people were like, get the ball to Jaylen Brown. Get the ball to Jaylen Brown. Like, what are you doing for the final shot? Jaylen Brown missed it. But even still, it was like, Dennis, why, get it, hurry up. Get it to Jaylen. We don't want you to have the ball. And so Dennis did a lot of that tonight. So it was too much. Anyway, more of the comments we'll get to now. Mick Unkindly, or Mr. Unkindly, sorry. Trying to give the McDonald's sponsorship or something. Mr. Unkindly saying, he has to stay healthy. Everyone knows he's a stud, but dude has to not stay hurt constantly. I think you're talking about Jaylen Brown. And yeah, the hamstring stuff he mentioned, it lingering and it causing him problems and stuff like that. That's the key, and hopefully we're past that. I think the idea behind sitting him down wasn't, that like he was forced out and he couldn't even play at all, and it was something that was just he was unplayable at that point. He couldn't even walk. That wasn't it. It was more so, I believe, in what they've said is, we want to make sure this isn't a long-term issue, so we're nipping it in the bud now to get him back to where he needs to be, and then we can play him on a more consistent basis, and hopefully that's what it is. We can hope, but who knows how. Nobody really knows how this thing's going to progress. So we can only hope. We can only hope that he stays healthy and stays being as incredible as he is. It's Gear saying we can't be losing many of these next games. And yeah, it's Gear. I mean, you said it. Coming up next on the schedule for the Celtics, Spurs at home. With a couple days rest here, 2 days rest, that should be a win. The Knicks and New York the very next night. It's going to be a little bit of a tough spot, but the Knicks aren't playing well right now. So you got to beat the Knicks. You play them again at home. Like, at least, take one of those back-to-back against the Pacers. After that, Pacers aren't good. You have to take those. Like, if you're going to get back in it, I'm sorry, but if you are going to get, we have to start getting serious, okay? We can't just start talking about, well, the Celtics, yeah, maybe they drop one here, drop one there, split these, maybe they go 2-2. No. We need to start getting serious about this team. If they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to actually make a push here, I need them to win the next 5 in a row. The next 5 in a row, I need you to win. Maybe 6. I might need you to beat the Sixers too, so that you stay ahead of them in the standings, presumably, if you win that 5 in a row and you're tied with them or something. 6 in a row, if you want to actually be a good team, I need you to win the next 6 in a row. And I'm not kidding. I'm not even kidding right now. That's what I'm going to need from this team. And then after that, it gets a little tough with the Bulls, but then you go back to being easy, okay? Then you got the Pelicans. Then you got the Hornets. At home. That should be a win. The Hornets are a good team, but you're playing them at home. And again, if you're going to be a good team, you have to beat the Hornets. That's a team you're fighting for positioning with. Trailblazers at home. They've been bad this year. That needs to be a win. Wizards on the road. Again, a team you're fighting with positioning against. That needs to be a win. Kings at home. That needs to be a win. Hawks on the road. That needs to be a win. Hawks are bad. Pelicans again. That needs to be a win. Okay, let's stop there. All right, you got the Heat after that. We'll leave that to the side right now. But that's most of January. The good news is that December, at least except the end of it, which we know what happened there, but let's forget about that for a second. Most of December, 90% of December, was the toughest part of your schedule. We acknowledged that. We knew that was going to happen. This is where it opens up. This is where it gets easier, and this is where you need to take advantage and get back on track and win your games since you're going to have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown back. That's what needs to happen. So, I can sit here and tell you, well, the Knicks, they've been okay this year, and the Celtics have split so far, and, they're struggling, but this or that, the other. So maybe the Celtics split against the Knicks. No, I need you to take both of those. I could be telling you, the next game, DeJounte Murray, he's an all-star caliber player. He could make the all-star team in the Western Conference. And the Spurs are 11th in the West, but they could, fight to be a play-in team. And no, none of that. You're not granted any of that. You need to beat the Spurs. Like, if you expect to be a playoff team, if you're going to save this season, if you're going to get back on track, I don't want these, the Spurs, the Knicks, the Pacers they still have talent. The Sixers are, beat. I can't. We can't do that. We can't be doing that at this point. Not acceptable. Matt saying the 50 burger from Tatum. NC saying great performance for Brown, getting his career high. But this is the ugliest W of the season. We almost got blown out by a borderline, I like this, borderline gas station team. Now, here's the thing. The Magic still had some okay players out there, right? It wasn't like the G League Magic team. Some of it was. But you had Franz Wagner, you had Mo Bamba, you had Wendell Carter, you had Terrence Ross going off, having an unreal game. So, some of those players are real NBA players. But Tim Frazier, it's I still, overall, you're still right. It was an ugly win. But again, like I said, we got to take what we can take this season, and this was a good night considering what else we've had to deal with. Mayhem saying, I've never been guilty of wanting to trade JB. LOL. What a game, minus the turnovers. Mayhem, thank you. Gold star for you, Mayhem, for not wanting to trade Jaylen Brown like an intellectual. Land saying this offseason, get Sexton and Beal. That would be ideal, probably. I mean, that'd be pretty good, but we'll see if they can pull that off. That might be a little tough, but Lance saying would be a dream come true. How about we start with maybe just Beal, maybe just get one of those and then go from there, okay? Terrence Ross would be fun in Boston. Interesting. You say that it's here. A thought I had, kind of been there, done that with the whole trade for a Magic guard on an expiring contract thing, or a Magic wing on an expiring contract with Evan Fournier, but sure, yeah, Terrence Ross, I had that thought too. He would help this team right now. He could be, a guy that would definitely play a nice little 6-man role here. And if they could get him for something cheap, second round picks or something like they got Fournier for, sure, I might consider it. Deshaun saying pass 50, JB 50. I've seen that in the chat a couple times now. Mayhem saying, we really shouldn't have been down to the Magic by that much, though. Again, yes, I understand Mayhem, but and I was frustrated too. I opened the stream by saying I was frustrated by it, but we take what we can get. NC saying we should try to get Wood and Ross. So Christian Wood and Terrence Ross. That'd be interesting. But right now, I don't think the Celtics' problem is necessarily big. Al Horford has been up and down, and his 3-point shooting hasn't been there, but he's generally been okay. And Robert Williams has been good. And, I don't know that Christian Wood would fit in. Maybe he'd be nice at the 4 over Horford. Maybe Horford can come off the bench or something. I don't know. But I'm a little iffy on Wood. I still like their front court, kind of. I think they need more help in the backcourt, but we'll see. And someone maybe preferably better than Wood. But Phil saying 50 points at 46 minutes for JB. Pretty good. He logged a lot of minutes tonight. Justin saying, I don't know who you're talking about here. If it's Brown or Tatum, but one of the best small forwards in the East. It isn't many good small forwards in the East. He will make it if he keeps the numbers up. So you're talking about Jaylen Brown. So look, I'll go through it real quick. I mean, I said I'd go through it, so I'll go through it real quick. Again, the guys that are locks for the All-Star game this year are, and I need to do this off the top of my head. So I might be forgetting some bits, but the guys that are locks are DeRozan, LaVine, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Giannis, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid. Okay, that's 7 locks. You got 5 spots left. LaMelo Ball is getting in. Good playmaking, good season for him. He's a star player, good scoring. He's getting in over Jaylen Brown. Okay, Jimmy Butler is getting in over Jaylen Brown. That's 9. Okay, that's 9. And then you got 3 spots left. I personally think let's see, who do I have out of those spots? I have Jason Tatum, right? Of course, I'm forgetting Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is getting in over Jaylen Brown. He's played more games. He's scored more points, yada, yada. Jason Tatum. Now you have 2 spots left. For me, it's Beal, who's, having some trouble three-point shooting, but his field goal percentage is fine. His team's better than the Celtics. He's averaging 23 points per game, okay? And then I have Drew Holiday. I know you get, Drew Holiday, blah, blah, blah. Drew Holiday right now, 18 points. Bucks are in 3rd place. You're not picking Middleton because Drew Holiday's been better than Chris Middleton this year. 18 points per game. I think 8 assists on top of that. Incredible defense as always. One of the best defenders in the league. Again, Bucks are in 3rd place. The Bucks are getting 2 All-Stars before you get 2 All-Stars. You're in 9th right now. You have an under 500 record. I'm sorry that this is the case, but the NBA rewards teams that win with All-Stars more than teams that just have good players. Like, if that's just the way it's always worked. So they're going to see you in 9th, and they're not going to say, well, you don't have 2 All-Stars if you're in 9th. Like, that's just the way that these voters' minds work, okay? So they're going to give it to Drew Holiday over Jaylen Brown. Darius Garland is another one, okay? Darius Garland, I didn't particularly have on my team, but Darius Garland is going to be in contention, and he's probably over Jaylen Brown right now. That might be it as far as the players that are ahead of Jaylen Brown in the pecking order. So he could get there, injury replacement. If the Celtics win a few games here, get back in the race, like that could happen, but they need to do that first. If they had to pick the All-Star team right now, Jaylen Brown would not be in the All-Star game. He would not. There's other players in contention too. Miles Bridges, even some of the Raptors guys. Trae Young. I didn't even mention Trae Young. Trae Young is another guy that's probably getting in over Jaylen Brown. And I know you're going to say, well, the Hawks are in 12th. What are you talking about? Well, that's just 1 All-Star for them. You can get 1 All-Star depending on where you are in the standings, but I'm not giving you 2 when you're not a playoff team. 2 is a different caliber of team. That's how they do it. They do it by caliber of team. If you're a good caliber, if you're, again, that's why Draymond's going to make it this year probably. Draymond Green's going to make the All-Star team. He's a great player. He might win Defensive Player of the Year, all this stuff. Like, not to discredit Draymond Green. But he's largely getting it because the Warriors are in 1st place. If the Warriors were in 8th place again like they were last year, Draymond Green wouldn't be in the All-Star game. So, that's just the way people are looking at it. So that's why Jaylen Brown in the All-Star game right now would be unlikely. It would be very unlikely. And we'll see if the Celtics can fix that. Land saying getting Buddy and Sexton would be a big W. So you want Colin Sexton, Buddy Hield. That, I don't know. That'd be a weird match to me. I don't know if I love that backcourt, honestly. That's a little too frantic for me. It's Gear saying, do you think Schroeder's trade value is higher, lower, or the same when he came into the game? I was funny because I was talking to people about this. If an NBA GM tuned in to overtime because he was like, wow, Celtics-Magic in overtime, he tuned in right there, it might have gone up a little bit. If they saw anything else Schroeder did besides an overtime, it's gone down for sure. And Mike said Dennis was the key to what them being losing to the Magic by so much. Like Dennis was not good tonight. He was okay in the 4th quarter. He made some nice plays in the 4th. It's Gear as always. Given the making sure to tell you guys to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. So it's Gear. Always make sure to do that. Phil saying Suns blowing out the Hornets right now and asking about Time Lord really being injured. You know how it is with Robert Williams sometimes. He just always pops up with this minor stuff, but I don't think it's anything too concerning. Let's see what the Celtics listed him as before the game. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. It said Robert Williams with a right big toe sprain. He was questionable coming in, so I don't think it's anything too concerning right now. Nothing we need to be. It's just a big toe sprain, and he could have played tonight potentially, but. Again, it was the Magic, so they said, we don't need Robert, and they could have probably used him tonight. But Evan's saying, we need a veteran point guard like Mike Conley and some draft picks. I don't know if they need the draft picks, but Mike Conley, sure, that'd be a guy that could help depending on what you're giving up. But I would rather probably someone younger than that. And now Evan gets to the Jason Tatum part of it when I was mad at Evan. I love that you always come in here, Evan. I'm not trying to disrespect you too much or anything like that. We're having fun. We're having a back and forth. I disagree with you. That's okay. It's just Celtics. I didn't mean to go too hard on you there. But, Evan wants to trade Jason Tatum. If you all didn't know this, welcome to the stream. this Evan right here, this commenter, he wants to trade Jason Tatum. So let's see what he has to say. If JT comes back and I'm assuming they continue to play like they did against Phoenix for the majority of the time he's on the court, I'll admit I'm wrong. But until then, I'm on that train. I don't know how, like that's Evan. It's a ridiculous standard to hold them to. Like if they continue to play at the level of beating the best team in the league by 20 points, if they continue to play at that level, then I'll give Jason Tatum credit. Like, that is ridiculous, Evan. That is ridiculous. Beating the best team in the league by 20 points. You expect the Celtics to do that every night. That is insane. It's insane. That's not how it works. It's not Jason Tatum's fault, who's averaging 25 points per game, that the rest of his teammates suck. How's that? How's that for a dose of reality? Okay? The Celtics, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are not the problem. Everybody else is. Okay? Does that help? Does that paint a nice picture? I mean, what do you want these guys to do? It's and I think that, look, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody else on the team, but a little bit of it is just going to be maturing, growing up, developing. Like, I don't think they'll be this bad forever. Again, they're a really young team right now. They're an incredibly young team. NBA teams by average age. Let's see where the Celtics rank right now. Okay, they are. What is this? Wait. Is this? Hold on. Is this? Are they actually one of the older teams in the league? And no. Okay. I can see it now. All right. They are below average age-wise. They're the bottom half of the league. Okay, bottom half of the league. I think it's 25.9. So where does that rank? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. About so it's right in the middle. Okay, right in the middle of the league. Like, if you end up like just sticking with this unit, stick with all these guys, and 2 years from now, and you still have these guys and they've developed, like, you can be a good team. Okay, it's just they're just too young right now. I'm sorry, their best players are too young right now. That's the case. When you had other stars that were older, like Kemba Walker, like Gordon Hayward, you could compete with those other great teams around the league. Right now, you're just too young to. Phil saying Bulls should really only toughest challenge coming up. Yeah, reading off the schedule, absolutely. That's what it looks like to me. Phoenix saying you can't let games like this happen to a legitimate playoff team like Philly, Toronto, all this stuff are not going to collapse like that. We'll see. I don't know. Atlanta's not having a good season. Toronto might. Like, these teams are all inconsistent, but certainly you can't do that against the Wizards. Like, you need to get better, obviously, and hopefully Jason Tatum helps that. Phoenix saying, I think Fred VanVleet and Garland have been having a better season than LaMelo. It's interesting. I mean, to me, LaMelo, it's about star power, okay? Like, a little bit of that is just the hype around him. He's averaging 20 points per game, shooting about 39% from three, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, okay? I mean, I'm sorry, but like, Fred VanVleet might be averaging more points, but he's not doing anything else that LaMelo Ball is doing as well, okay? LaMelo Ball, more rebounds, more assists, more steals. Like, it's not there. And as far as Garland goes, Darius Garland is really good. I think you can make a case for him over LaMelo. I just think the hype's too big for LaMelo. But again, LaMelo, rebounds, assists, steals. Like, if you're just looking at points per game, I guess you can give it to Garland and VanVleet. But I totally, the Garland one I'll give credence to. The VanVleet one, like, his team's not good enough. He doesn't do anything else well enough. Like, I'm sorry. I don't get me wrong. I like Fred VanVleet. Think he should have been, I thought he could potentially be an all-star this year, but no, I'm not giving it to him on that. Phoenix saying, that was the last one I just read, saying Beal does not deserve to be an all-star over Garland and VanVleet this year. Beal's team is 18-18. He's the best player on there, 23 points per game. His three-point shooting numbers are bad, but his field goal percentage is good. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, yes, his scoring is down from last year, but guess what? He got a lot of teammates that are helping him carry the load a little bit, and that's more why his scoring is down than anything else. If he was, making, I don't know, 3/4 more of a 3 per game, right? Like 0.7 more threes per game. Okay, his scoring average would go up something like 2.3 points or 2.1 points or something. It'd still be 6 points lower than it was last year, but his shooting numbers would be the same and his team would be better. It's less about his shooting and more about the fact that they got other players around him to actually help him win. A little bit at least. Mitch saying this game just showed you JB was not beating the Timberwolves and Clippers unless he dropped 50 each time. That's true, Mitch, and I think that shows you what's wrong with the rest of the roster, too. Okay? Phil saying, with all of the games, JB missed is going to be tough for him to make an all-star. Right. That's a factor, too, that I forgot to mention. I talked about it earlier. But he's missed a lot of time, too, and that's going to be factored in voters' minds as well. Mitch saying, I don't think Van Fleet makes it, but Garland will probably be a reserve. Garland, it's borderline, but he probably deserves it. And again, the game in Cleveland's probably good. Game being in Cleveland probably helps him. But it's still close to me. I personally would have Beal over Garland right now, but I know a lot of people would disagree. I also just think part of that isn't just, head to head. If you're telling me like, who do I think has had a better season? I'll probably take Garland, but I think that when you are an all-star, when you are a player that has made an all-star game, it is easier to make it again than it is for a player who's trying to make it for the first time. When people look at you and see your name and think that's an all-star player, it's easier to make the game than it is for a player that you're like, Darius Garland, is he an all-star? Well, he's never, obviously he's young, but he's never made it before. So like, do I consider him to be an all-star? Bradley Beal, people just subconsciously consider to be an all-star. So to me, like the first game is always your hardest to make. There's a lot of players around the league who their first all-star caliber season did not make it, okay? Among them is Jaylen Brown or Damian Lillard, for example, in his rookie year could have been in contention. Like there's a ton of guys like that, okay? So it's just tough. Saying, I wish Kuzma was on a better team, got so much potential. I don't know. I think he's in a pretty good spot, honestly, if he wants to reach his potential with the Wizards right now. Mitch saying, I've learned no matter who is out, when one of Smart, Tatum, Brown, Rob, and Grant are out of the lineup, the team suffers badly. I think that's fair. I think you can make a strong argument that those are your 5 best players. You can make a strong argument. Like Josh Richardson, Al Horford, Dennis Schroeder certainly make cases to be in there. But I think, honestly, the top 4 definitely. And the way Grant's played this year, like he's making a case to be in there. He's just a great shooter and perfect complement to those guys, really. That could be your starting lineup, honestly. It really could, and I don't think anybody'd be mad at it. Evan saying, what I'm returned to is the ball movement and the spacing, not necessarily beating Phoenix by 20. I don't expect them to blow everybody out. Again, Evan, I think that's fair. Look, I think it's fair to want the Celtics to move the ball more. I do. I totally think that is absolutely fair. The Celtics should move the ball more. And, they should have better spacing and whatnot. But that doesn't fall on Jason Tatum. That falls on coaching. That falls on the general manager. You have to get players that are better shooters than Dennis Schroeder, and apparently better shooters than Al Horford, who's been struggling from 3 this year, okay? And, until you get that, it's not Jason Tatum's fault that the team can't space the floor, okay? It's just not. I can't blame him for that. Even other guys on the roster, I don't think it's his fault. I think that's unfair to characterize it as that. Mitch saying, if they let Rob run the offense, guys will be forced to move the ball. That is development. And that is interesting. I honestly brought that up last game, and I think, Robert Williams had 10 assists last time out. And maybe that's your best option. Maybe he looks, honestly, I don't think it's crazy to say he might be your best passer. He honestly might be. So I would like to see that for a considerable amount of time. Maybe that will help. And maybe that'll solve what Evan wants it to solve. Super me dude, I don't know, Supreme dude, sorry, I can't read. Saying Brown is money. Phoenix saying Fred's true shooting clears. I'm still taking LaMelo Ball over him. Sorry. The fact that Hayward is playing every game so far is making me so sad that he didn't for us. And that's true, Mitch. You wonder what they could have been, especially even if he resigned. You wonder what they could be now with Hayward. Wrong emoji, but you get the memo. Evan saying, it's difficult to convey my position completely through text. Okay, Evan, I can understand that, I guess. But I still don't. I don't think you could say anything that would make me want to trade Jason Tatum, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, but I think we're not going to agree on that. Phoenix saying Toronto is 500 this year, same as Washington, and Washington fell off a cliff. Look, I told you that I think Darius Garland is probably, you can make that argument over Beal, but you're not making the argument for Fred VanVleet. Toronto's in 10th right now. Yes, they could jump up, but I'm just not there yet. I'm sorry, Fred VanVleet is, and that you want to make the Beal argument, okay, but you were making the LaMelo Ball argument earlier. LaMelo Ball for sure, no. You can argue Fred VanVleet over Beal. I'll let you argue Fred VanVleet over Beal. That's fine, but not over LaMelo Ball. I'm sorry, that's not happening. LaMelo Ball has been better than Fred VanVleet for sure. And I'm taking Darius Garland before I'm taking him too. So that's not for me. Mitch saying, Garland has made Jarrett Allen an all-star worthy as well. That gives Garland an edge for me. Mobley, K-Love, Rubio, all this stuff. Some more about Darius Garland. All right, Darius Garland love. Yeah, I don't know if he's totally made Jarrett Allen an all-star. Jarrett Allen deserves some credit too, but I understand what you're saying there. Cormac saying, okay, Brown is that guy. Beast. Yeah, again, the 50 points tonight. Been the story of the night. Incredible. Are there any solid point guards out there we could acquire? That's a good question. Let me take a look. Let me start to think about it a little bit. I guess it's really hard to pinpoint anybody immediately that could be available. How do you feel about Damian Lillard? I'm just kidding, of course. Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? There's no one that immediately jumps out as like available. It'd all be big swings. Like if Damian Lillard somehow became available and you had to make a big move for him, or like De'Aaron Fox somehow became available. There's no I would say for example, like a Ricky Rubio or a Mike Conley or who else could I throw in there? Like even like a Monte Morris. Like these teams aren't giving these types of guys up. So it's kind of hard to find guys like that, like Jalen Brunson. Like you're not getting Jalen Brunson from the Mavericks. I'll throw his name out there because maybe that's as close as you're going to get to somebody that might be available. That's kind of in the range of like you won't have to give up an incredibly precious asset for him. But it's slim pickings out there. It really is slim pickings for point guards right now. So you might just have to hope that Peyton Pritchard turns into a pretty good one at the end of the day. There's really not a lot out there that you can pick from. Like, how does you feel about Devontae Graham? Like, I don't know. It's tough. Blacksmith saying, do you think Lukaku will leave Chelsea and join the Celtics? I can't speak on that. I'm not sure. Not totally sure. Evan saying, all I'm saying is if he comes back with that Kobe mentality and that caused the issue, he needs to go. And I don't disagree that MA and Brad are problems. I'm sorry. I still disagree. Like, this is another thing that I don't get. Like, I understand that, in Boston, a lot of people don't like Kobe because he beat them in the finals and like, okay, it's fine. And he played for the Lakers. But what's wrong with Kobe? He won 5 championships. And Jason Tatum's also a really good player. So if you're saying, well, he's not Kobe and he needs to sacrifice a little more, sure. I think some of that can come with time, though. I really do. I think as you mature and as he grows older and as he's, not 23 anymore, he'll learn that a little bit. Even Kobe had to learn that himself. A lot of players needed to learn that they need to be less selfish to win. And maybe Jason Tatum needs to learn that. But I don't think acting like he will never learn that at 23 is fair. And you could say it's been 4 years, it's been 5 years. He's still 23. Do you think other players around the league are learning that at 23? Because they're not. They're just not. Phil saying Simmons and Fox come to mind for point guard. Simmons could be a good one potentially. I think we agree on what the issues are, but disagree on how to fix them. Yeah, I would agree with you, Evan. I would agree with you on that statement. I just don't see how Jason Tatum is the issue to you. And that, if I'm just wondering, Evan, what do you think is going to happen if you take Jason Tatum out of this team? Do you think they're a fourth place team as if you just take Jason Tatum out of the mix? We saw what happened these last few games. I mean, really, Evan, honestly, I'm talking to you right now. If you look at what happened the last 4 games with Jason Tatum out, how can you argue to me that they're better? They barely beat the Magic. They lost to the Timberwolves with a bunch of nobodies, and they lost to the Clippers with a bunch of nobodies, basically. There's players on there. I don't mean to disrespect them, but without their stars. They lost to those teams without their star players. So because of one game against Phoenix, you're going to tell me that's what they are without Jason Tatum and ignore all the other games that they played without Jason Tatum? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay. Phoenix, we're going to wrap it up soon here, guys. Phoenix saying the All-Star team is going to be super record dependent by the end of January. There were 5 teams in the East and they're 500. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just think that always plays a factor, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, whether it's a half game here, half game there, it always plays a factor. Can't get Simmons without Brown, though, so nah. Who knows? If he continues to sit out, his trade value continues to deplete, maybe you can get him without giving up Jaylen Brown. Maybe the Sixers will listen on, Smart, Nesmith, and whatever else. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Evan saying, I want Mike Conley, but his contract massive, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, you'd probably need to do some sort of creative package with Al Horford going back and forth and throw a lot of other assets at the Jazz. Mitch saying, if you could get Simmons without giving up the Jays, Rob, and Grant, I'd do it. in a heartbeat. Yeah, that'd be tough. I don't think you'd be able to do that. I think maybe you could get away with giving up the Jays, but you'd have to give up probably some combination of Rob and Grant and Smart, and like maybe all three of those guys. Maybe Rob goes to a third team and something else comes back to the Sixers since they don't really need a center. But I think they like Grant in that trade, honestly, the way he's playing. So I think that's what you'd have to include. Mitch saying Simmons and Jaylen's transition game would be insane and force JT to not dribble slowly down the court. Okay. An interesting point there. Phil saying, Evan, who would you trade JB for? I'd like to know that as well. Blacksmith saying, can you still make the argument Harden over KD this year? I think Brickhouse Harden fell off. I don't know. I've never made that argument, Harden over KD. I wouldn't make that argument, so I don't know who's making that argument, but Harden certainly isn't Phoenix Harden right now, I guess you could say. But his passing is still good, his scoring is still decent, so I don't know. Carmack saying, of course, but that's surely impossible about the trade stuff, I think, for Simmons. Mitch saying you can get Simmons without giving up the Jays, Rob, and Grant if you get 3 to 4 teams involved, because no one will have a single team for a fair trade for Ben Simmons. Okay. And then Phoenix saying, to be fair, the Clippers with nobodies beat Brooklyn. That's true. Clippers, and again, the Clippers have been playing well, and they have good depth there. I'm not going to lie, Mitch, whether it's Marcus Morris or even, I guess you could throw Eric Bledsoe in there, but Terrence Mann's been really good. So Clippers have some good depth too. All right, guys. Unless we get another comment I want to read, this is the third stream of the day in total. It's probably been, I don't know, probably about 2 hours of streaming today for me. Definitely coming up on that. And it's been hard because it's been in intervals. 2 hours straight might be a little bit easier than 2 hours separated up. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But it's been quite exhausting. So I appreciate you guys coming out all day. For the people that were in the chat for every one of those streams, I appreciate you, Phil. I think you might have been around for all of them. Obviously, it's Gear. Been around for all of them. And I'll do one more for Phoenix because I kind of like it. What do I think Boston's record will be after this month? I hope it will be a lot better than I think it will be. I think it'll be 2 games over 500. Okay, that's what I think. Because it does get a little bit easier. They should be able to bounce back a little bit. I hope it'll be like 6 games over 500. I think that the schedule could be that easy, honestly. How many teams do you play under 500 in this month? Out of your next, I'll try to do the math real quick, and I'm just going to be guessing on some of these. Over your next 14 games, you play 1, 2, I'm going to say 500 or lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of your next 14 are against teams 500 or worse right now. Your other 3 are against the Sixers, the Hornets, on the fringes of 500 right now, and the Bulls. Obviously very good. But your next 14, very winnable games. Very winnable games. And guess what? After that, you got the Heat. Tough. Then you have the Hornets again. Winnable. Then you have the Pistons and the Magic. Come on. And I'm going to be at that Magic game. So maybe I'll talk to you guys about that at a later time. Gets tough again after that. But then you can have the All-Star break looming at some point. You get some rest in, All right, guys. So I'm going to say again, I think 2 games over 500. I hope 4 games over. I hope 6 games over 500, something like that. I hope you're 6th or 5th. You guys have more comments. I'll read some more comments right now. Why not? We're just hanging out at this point. If you include 2 teams like the Pacers, you can get Simmons without giving up your top assets. Maybe. I think I would agree generally. I don't want to get into all the machinations of it, but I would agree theoretically if in a certain scenario a world exists where you can get Simmons without giving up the Jays. But it would take a lot of things going right. Simmons' value going further down. Daryl Morey getting demoralized and just wanting to ship him out of town. And there being no other suitors because they wouldn't want to just give him to the Celtics. Phoenix saying, pretty sure I don't have any wins. I basically addressed that. A great thank you for answering the question before hopping off. Absolutely, Phoenix. I got you. Absolutely. I love you seeing you in here all the time. Awesome. Graham Brown is the GOAT. Just throwing in there one more time. Thoughts on New York, Knicks, and Atlanta falling off a cliff this season. Real quick thoughts would be it kind of happens. I mean, both of them are weird teams. They had weird seasons last year where I think they overachieved. The Hawks were a terrible team before last season. They come in, they go on some crazy runs, so credit to them. But they were both kind of fringy teams to begin with, and the standings were very close last season as well. So you lose a few more games here, you fall into a slump a little bit, and it's no surprise that they've fluctuated the way that they have. I mean, look at the NBA standings right now, and look at the NBA standings last year, okay? Right now, the Hawks and Knicks are 4 games out of 5th place. 4 games out of 5th place right now, okay? And they're, 12th and 13th or something? Last season, there was a certain point, it's changed now but there was a certain point last year where they were like, they were 4th and 5th, but they were like 3 games away from being 9th and 10th. I guess not 9th and 10th, that's too far. But 3 games, it was very a few amount of games that separated like 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in the East. So they have fallen off, but other teams have gotten better. The Wizards, the Hornets, the Bulls especially. They've like a lot of teams, the Cavaliers obviously. A lot of teams just got better, and it's gotten harder to compete in the East this year. So I think that's what my thoughts on it would be. And then also thoughts on Washington's collapse as well. They started the season hot. They were never that good. And saying, I know Doc wants Simmons traded by the deadline, so we'll see. I think that should happen as well. So we'll see if the Sixers follow through. All right, guys, that's going to do it. 51-minute mark. Appreciate it. I'm going to end the broadcast here. Thank you guys for coming out, especially to all the streams. Really appreciate it. And stick around, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Do all the fun stuff, with whatever else. And we'll catch you guys later. Peace out.